Hello, this is Douglas Jack. I'm president of the Sustainable Development Association here in LaSalle Gardens, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And in the application that we've made to the Food System Vision Prize of the Rockefeller Foundation, what we're doing is we're working with the indigenous polyculture orchard practices where we've planted, 25 trees in this urban setting. It's a multi-home development project built by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation back in 1955. The 33 acres contains some 700 apartments and 50 townhouses. Now the space around the townhouses and multi-home and apartments has peripheral roads. So it was built as a garden city in the model of Frederick Olmsted, the landscape architecture who designed Parc Montréal in Montreal, as well as Central Park in New York City, and thousands of other designs for garden cities and for parks and communities around North America. So what we're trying to do here is, or what we've done over 20 years here, and at our site, we have a site in Saint Lazare where a member has taken 4 million tons of fall leaves, grass clippings, branch chips, and barn cleanings, had landscapers bring their waste to his property and built up a huge amount of soil from that waste. In those grass clippings, the squirrels, in the fall leaves, the squirrels, groundhogs, and blue jays were the main workers. Now they planted 90,000 nut trees, oak acorns, butternuts, and amongst them some other apple and other fruit trees that they came upon, but mostly the nut trees, which are really the basis of high quality, non-allergenic proteins for human populations. So for food security, when we compare polyculture orchard productivity with, say, agricultural productivity, the polyculture orchards, which is the indigenous model, this is what our indigenous ancestors were cultivating all around the world on every continent, in every nation of the world, except for, the places like Greenland and the far north or the far south. But generally they were cultivating trees as their primary source of food. Now, the productivity of the canopy of a tree, imagine a huge canopy of trees almost anywhere, and they'll produce about 100 times more food in their three-dimensional vertical space than the same area flat on the ground. The word agriculture comes from the word field. It's essentially two-dimensional productivity. So our food productivity is based on the indigenous polyculture orchard of our ancestors, which is 10,000% more productive than 2D agriculture. I mean, if we took a 50 square meter area of land and produced, say, one tree, that one tree could produce anywhere, say, the ancient trees that the indigenous people left here and in Europe, in Asia, Africa, Australia, North America, South America. Each one of those oak trees, for example, could be producing, averaging 3 tons. In a mast year, they might produce 10 tons per year on that tree. if the tree was fed. So humans have to bring our waste to the tree. Fall leaves, our fecal and our urine and our vegetable cuttings, all our compost can go towards systems which the tree acts as a primary processor of our waste. But those trees will produce huge quantities of food. In comparison, the same area, 50 square meters, I've worked in wheat, oats, barley, rye, combine harvesting of grains from fields. And the most you'd get from 50 square yards might be, in a good year, 3 kilograms. 3 kilograms compared to 3 tons on average. And the trees, of course, they're photosynthesizing 92 to 98% of solar energy. They're taking that energy and they're taking the ultraviolet rays and photosynthesizing it at 92 to 98%. They're taking the infrared from reflected heat everywhere. They're absorbing it into their systems and they're actually converting wind into ATP, which is essential for cell function within plants and within people and animals. So those trees have a massive productivity. Their roots are going down into the Earth's substrate, and they're pumping water, they're mining minerals, they're developing nutrient colonies. Agriculture, the roots might go down centimeters. They don't really pump water, they're just sterile. So when you look at the roots, you look at the canopy, and you're looking at each tree is a heat pump, taking energy out of the atmosphere. In urban areas, that's really important. The trees are supporting our foundations of our buildings, causing grounds to remain and buildings to remain stable. Trees are performing when you have an polyculture orchard area like what used to be ancient North Africa, the area that was turned into the Sahara and Sahel deserts used to be flowing rivers and huge polyculture orchards cultivated by the indigenous people. So when colonists came and cut down those polyculture orchards to replace them with agriculture, the land at that 30-degree latitude dried out and suffered. Turned into desert, turned into total unproductive. So recapturing our indigenous polyculture orchards is a future for all humanity. And the way we do it, back to our experiment out in Katafar over the last 45 years, where a member, Dag Radisevich, he's brought 4 million tons of landscaper wastes to his property. He's had them bring it out. They saved a lot of distance by coming to his place right near the city center of Saint Lazare. And that's all that fall leaves, grass clippings, branch chips, and barn cleanings. And within the fall leaves were the acorns and butternuts that the squirrels planted. 90,000 nut trees, which is the best protein that anybody could imagine. It's not hyperallergenic like grains. So now the trees are like 35 years old. And what we're harvesting half a ton per tree times 90,000 over about a 30-acre area. So you can imagine now the trees hold water, the soil holds water, and the beavers came in, and the beavers have built ponds interlaced with the polyculture orchards, providing fire breaks. And of course, the trees, when they photosynthesize so much, they're creating a cold spot on the earth. And so over a geographic region, that cold spot, is a vacuum. And that's drawing warm, moist ocean winds inland, where 60% of moisture transfer is actually through condensation on the leaf and bark surfaces of the polyculture orchard. Now, the same area of agriculture is reflecting about 95% of solar energy and photosynthesizing only between 2 and 8% of solar energy. Now, there's no condensation surfaces in agriculture, or next to none, and the roots are shallow and leaving the earth hard-packed. So the productivity of those areas that we have to act as slaves in agriculture, actually the word farm, or ferme in French, means contract of servitude between the peasant and the aristocrat who's managing the peasant's work. So it's a slavery contract. That's right within our language, as is agriculture is two-dimensional field, and so this is the model that we've developed that is really just understanding what our indigenous ancestors were doing for tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of years in cultivating vibrant polyculture orchards that were so abundant that people could live in peace and harmony and abundance. Thank you.